everything. So Captain America Civil War just dropped last night, and it is phenomenal. It is so good. Like, one of the best Marvel movies to date, if not the best. And it also has the most characters. It has 12 superheroes in it, more than any other Marvel film to date. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to rank them. Just figure out who's the best character in the movie. So number 12, War Machine. So unfortunately Rhodes doesn't get like a big story arc, and he's mostly treated as just the sidekick to Iron Man. He's a big player in the airport scene, and he has some cool shots, but like he doesn't, it's not much. And also, even when Vision shoots him by accident and he falls to the ground, that's not as much as for Rhodes as is the emotional impact that it has on Tony. And also, the effects of that seem to be very minimal. But I think it's gonna be cool, like as he's in like a wheelchair, and then he gets in the War Machine suit and he's all better. I think that'd be kind of cool. Number 11 is Hawkeye. Poor Hawkeye. He just doesn't get much love. He's thrown in the middle of the conflict, and we don't really understand why. It's never really explained why, just to show that the conflict is escalating. I did like his interactions with Wanda, though. That was one of my favorite parts. Like, remember in Age of Ultron, he was like, if you go out there, you're an Avenger. And he gave her the pep talk. That's still kind of carried over, and it's almost like he's a friend, but also kind of like a protector, like a mentor. Like, he's looking out for her. Number 10 is Vision. So Vision was one of my favorite parts of Age of Ultron, just because he was so new and interesting. And they delved more into that. There just wasn't much of him in this movie. And there was some nice setup for Infinity War when he talked about the mind gem that's inside his forehead. It's an interesting concept to see how much does the mind gem control him, or how much does he control the mind gem. That's an interesting question to explore, but that's about all there is. Number 9 is Falcon. Falcon is fantastic, but there's not much. He's treated like a sidekick as well, just a better one. I did like how his power of flight was actually used like as a power instead of just a means of transportation. And the opening scene where he's taking out Crossbone's men, phenomenal. Number 8 is Ant-Man. Ant-Man is absolutely adorable in this movie. Paul Rudd shines in almost every scene that he's in. When he first met Captain America and the Avengers, someone in the back of the theater said, "Holy shit, Paul Rudd's an Avenger?" And that made me crack up. But yeah, like, there's some cool stuff when he turns into Giant Man, when he's shot on the arrow. But that's all it is. It's kind of like fluff. But this movie will have huge repercussions for Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I'm looking forward to. 7 is Black Widow. Black Widow does I'm a huge fan of Black Widow, and she does a really good job of walking the tightrope between both sides. But when she eventually chooses Cap's side, it's not really a surprise. Also, the scene where she comforts Steve at the funeral, absolutely adorable and like so heartwarming. Number 6 is the Scarlet Witch. I wasn't a huge fan of Scarlet Witch in Avengers Age of Ultron, but this movie, fantastic. You felt the emotional impact that the events in Wakanda had on her in the very beginning of the movie, and that was kind of like the trigger point for the entire movie, and that she carried that very well. I also really like the seedlings of a relationship between her and Vision, which is actually very true to the comics. They are together in the comics. Also, she is insanely powerful, and I did not know that. Like, when she just pushes Vision through like 38 stories of concrete, and she's just saving people's lives in the airport. It seems like just stopping killing blows, like grabbing people's fists, flinging them on around. It was pretty good. Winter Soldier is number 5. Sebastian Stan was a huge player in this movie. And he handled it very well. I really like the idea that he remembers everybody that he killed while he was the Winter Soldier, and he just carries that burden with him non-stop, even though he wasn't in control of those actions. He's a very like deep and scarred character, and I really like how Marvel is using mind control as like, it messes you up. With Winter Soldier and Jessica Jones, they're like, this will destroy you. Because in other stuff, it's like, oh, you're mind control, I'm all better now, let's kick some ass. But this one is like, I had someone else controlling my actions, and I don't really know how to process that. So you just kind of break down. Winter Soldier also had phenomenal action scenes, and that. Although I didn't like how he could block every single bullet with his arm, because that just seems unrealistic. Because your arm's only like so big, and my torso is much bigger. Number 4 is Black Panther. The casting of Chadwick Boseman was spot on. He was fantastic as Black Panther. I also really like how he did like an African Wakandan accent, because I didn't like think that would, like, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I just didn't realize that he would like have an accent. Also, he is such a huge part of this movie, and he has such a good story arc, and it ties into exactly the themes of the movie, like consequences and vengeance. And then when he decides not to kill Zemo, that he won't let vengeance consume him. I'm just like, my guy, my guy. Number 3 is Iron Man. Now, going into the movie, I was very Team Cap. And I didn't really understand what Iron Man's side was, but he laid it out so nice. I was like, wow, Tony, those are like some great points. And like, I don't know what side to go with now, because you do need to take responsibility for your actions. And like the scene where from the Battle of New York where Hulk's just jumping from a building, like he kills people every time he jumps, and you have to live with that. Like, maybe you should be controlled, and I didn't think that going in, and he just has such a great story arc, and it's just Number 2 is Spider-Man. Guys, Spider-Man, phenomenal. My favorite Spider-Man to date, Tom Holland. So good. I was nervous about the casting because I didn't know who Tom Holland was, but he killed it. I loved every single scene that he was in. That was my favorite part of the movie. He stole every single scene. He's just quipping and flying around on webs, and it's just so good to see him home at Marvel where he belongs, and they're treating him right. Oh, it hit me right here. Right here. Number 1 is Captain America. So this is at its central core a Captain America movie, even though it contains all the Avengers. And the Russo brothers did a really good job of explaining that, because like, it's such a big cast that it's very hard to get lost in the confusion in the ensemble. But they do a very good job of singling an all-around Cap. I love the struggles that he deals with, like how he's just struggling with like trying to stand up for what he believes is right, even though everyone is pushing against him. And when he almost breaks and he almost signs the Sokovia Accords, but then he does. So that's